Hey Lakers family, exclusive tonight. I'll walk you through the real timeline from Austin Reeves' buzzer beater and the injury updates on LeBron and Luka to the national column that ignited a last dance in Dallas idea with Anthony Davis and Kyrie, and then I'll pressure test that scenario with cap math, rotation logic, and the competitive incentives both front offices care about right now. Because if there's even a whisper that LeBron could be pried away mid-season, this channel is going to cut through the noise like adults who love this jersey and know the difference between a headline and a plan. And yes, I'm keeping this tight, direct, and personal because I'm talking to you like we're walking out of the arena after a one-point win, wondering why half the league decided to borrow our night to sell their own story. I start with the basketball we just lived. A 116-115 road win in Minnesota that said more about the Lakers' floor than anyone wants to admit. No LeBron, no Luka, no Marcus Smart, bench stretched thin, and it still turned into a final possession trust exercise that ended with Reeves owning the moment. Jake LaRavia punishing closeouts, and DeAndre Ayton doing grown-up work in the seams. That's habits, not luck. And habits matter when the rumor mill tries to tell you the season is a waiting room for a blockbuster. Now zoom out to the health context, because that's driving rotations and, by extension, narratives. LeBron managing right-side sciatica with a target to ramp back in November. Luka absorbing a quick reset after the finger and leg knocks. Smart kept out as a precaution, Gabe Vincent on the shelf. And the staff choosing control over adrenaline in late October. That deliberate approach is not a sign of uncertainty. It's a sign of a team that knows the only thing you can't buy at the deadline is continuity, and they're banking it now, even when it looks ugly for a week. That's the basketball foundation. The rumor spark came after, a national piece framing a dream scenario where Dallas makes a phone call for LeBron. Why? Because their context changed in real life, not just on paper. They've assembled a spine that includes Anthony Davis and Kyrie Irving, layered it with Klay Thompson's gravity, dual rim threats in Derek Lively II and Daniel Gafford, and roll wings like Najee Marshall and Caleb Martin, who let you play big or small without tearing up your defensive principles. In other words, Dallas finally has the silhouette of a team that could sell the idea of a veteran closer to go all in this year. And that's where the dream meets the rulebook. Apron-era teams don't get to mash mid-sized contracts together freely anymore. Aggregation is restricted. Salary matching is tighter. Exceptions are neutered. And you can paint yourself into a corner where you lose the ability to add the very depth that makes the pitch attractive. The beauty of Dallas, right? Now, the rotational redundancy that protects them against a bad shooting week would be the first casualty of trying to absorb a $52.6 million contract without breaking a dozen other things. That's before we say the out loud part. LeBron opted in, holds a no-trade clause and a trade bonus, and in 2025 he is literally the one star in the league who has the right to turn any trade into a hard no with one sentence. Any conversation about him moving starts and ends with his consent and a basketball reason that beats what he's building in Los Angeles alongside Luka when healthy. So let me be fair to the other side's pitch, and then I'll tell you where I land. The Dallas dream sells comfort and instant chemistry. LeBron Kyrie have a championship language on late clock possessions. Anthony Davis is a familiar defensive safety net who can toggle between anchor and roamer. Klay's gravity cleans the weak side tag. Lively and Gafford keep the dunker spot honest. The wings chase and switch, and a rookie with the sky on his shoulders gets the kind of playoff reps you can't simulate. That's a nice deck to spread on a conference room table. But depth is not a luxury in a 7-game series. It's a firewall against variance. You trade for LeBron at this stage, you are not adding a final piece. You are reorganizing your entire cap structure under the second apron and asking the role players who survived the deal to win 4 rounds while everyone else in the West is taller and healthier in May. What's the counter from our side? Present tense coherence. The Lakers have a plan that became clearer during the Minnesota game. Get the bench confident in real minutes now. Harden the Austin Reeves usage toggles so he can scale up when stars sit. Make Smart's defensive voice the default when he's back. Leverage Ayton's vertical spacing to lower Luka's collision rate when he returns. And put LeBron in a position to pick high-leverage defensive pockets. The nail help. The late switch on hot shooters. the shadow work that steals possessions without costing legs. That's not the kind of plan a team abandons in November. That's the kind of plan that gets louder as bodies come back and late-game tape starts to look repeatable. Add the non-negotiables. LeBron's on-ball IQ is still the final word on tempo. His off-ball cutting thrives next to Luka's gravity. And the staff has already shown a willingness to live with 2 or 3 ugly stretches per game if it means banking the reads that matter in April. This is how an adult team uses October. So why is the Dallas talk so sticky? Because it flatters everyone. It flatters Dallas by framing them as 1 star away. It flatters the content cycle by promising a reunion series of familiar faces. And it flatters the idea that you can hack the apron with enough creativity. You can't. Not without paying for it somewhere else on the roster. And that's the part casuals miss. If you take real bites out of the supporting cast to match salary and stay legal, you're not building a super team. You're trading one set of problems for another and asking a 41-year-old to be the answer to all of them on a timeline that doesn't respect how long it takes to teach a team how to win together. Meanwhile, the Lakers' leverage is clean. They have the players' trust locked in contractually. The injury plan is measured. The partnership with Luka is an investment already showing returns. And the front office can target a mid-season addition that fits the spine, a plus-size wing who passes on the move and defends up a position without touching the top of the rotation. In this environment, asking the Lakers to slice their own depth for a headline is like asking a surgeon to use a chainsaw. Dramatic, but it's not how professionals work. I'll get a bit nerdy on the finances because it matters. Once you're brushing the second apron, you don't just have fewer toys, you lose the right to combine certain contracts, to send cash, to capture value with exceptions, and your future picks start to handcuff you if you treat the apron like a speed bump. It becomes a map of narrow corridors where even legal trades can be functionally impossible if the incoming salary bumps you over and leaves you without the ability to fill out a rotation. Translate that to Dallas. To bring in LeBron without detonating the very redundancy that protects them, you'd need either an outgoing star-level contract they won't part with or a surgical framework that the CBA doesn't really allow anymore. Translate it to the Lakers. To move LeBron at all, you'd need a reason that beats staying put with an MVP-level co-creator in Luka and a rotation that just proved it can survive rough water. And there is a psychological layer. Leverage lives in the rumor, but leadership lives in the locker room. Everything about the way the Lakers have communicated since July says leadership, opt-in security. No trade authority, a summer built around keeping flexibility without sacrificing the spine, and a staff that's already threading the needle between health and habits. I'm not dismissing the dream. I'm telling you the adult version of it asks every party to act against their own interests. Dallas would thin out the exact depth that lets them survive the West. The Lakers would break continuity they've waited a decade to earn, and LeBron would walk away from the best co-pilot he's had since the title year to learn fresh chemistry on the fly under the tightest CBA in league history. That's not impossible. It's just improbable. And because this is Lakers News Fan Report, I'm going to bring you into the process instead of selling you a poster. Before I close, I want your read right here in the comments. If the dream rumor graduates to a serious proposal, would you even take the first call if it means risking the Reeves Smart Ayton connective tissue we just saw hold on the road in Minnesota? Or do you lock the door, keep stacking reps, and dare the conference to solve 2 basketball supercomputers in gold when the lights get hot? Would you trade the real-time growth of the Luka LeBron library, the timing on ghost screens, the empty corner delays, the late clock 2-for-1 mastery, for a reunion with Kyrie and AD in Dallas, knowing that apron rules and salary matching could amputate the very depth that makes that reunion appealing? Or is the adult move to double down on what's working now, tighter rotations, cleaner fourth-quarter shot profiles, and targeted minutes that keep LeBron fresh enough to be a closer on defense as much as on offense? Give me your 3 most trusted non-stars in our rotation and the single playoff job you believe each one does at a winning level. Maybe it's Reeves as a late-game secondary handler who kills traps with the swing pass, Smart as the point-of-attack thermostat who flips a run with 1 charge and 1 deflection. Ayton as the vertical spacer who turns paint touches into easy reads for corner shooters. Or someone off the bench who simply eats the ugly possessions that keep you alive on Tuesdays in January and in Game 5s in May. I'll feature the sharpest breakdown in the next upload and build the film thread around it so we're learning together, not screaming past each other. And if your answer is, I'd listen, then tell me where your line is in real terms. Would you consider anything that subtracts 2 rotation wings, or is that a hard no because you don't trade redundancy in this era? Would you greenlight a move only if it preserves the switch package we saw last week? Would you sacrifice a pick in the distant future for a present tense upgrade? Or is the smarter play to keep dry powder and shop for a plus-size forward who passes on the move and guards up a position without touching the top of the deck? This is the conversation that separates banner thinking from headline thinking. My closing analysis, clean and straight. The LeBron to Dallas talk is a compelling story because recent changes in their roster make the fantasy feel cinematic. But when you put it under the light, contract reality, opt-in, no trade, trade bonus, apron-era restrictions on aggregation and matching, and the present-tense logic of what the Lakers are building with continuity, role clarity, and a healthy ramp, the probabilities shrink fast. The sharpest plan is the one already on the floor. Stack wins while the stars ramp. Harden Reeves and Smart's usage, so the offense doesn't wobble when defenses turn mean. Leverage Ayton's vertical gravity to lower collision rates for our creators. And keep your powder dry for a surgical in-season addition that reinforces the spine rather than blows it up. That's how you turn rumor weather into playoff climate. If you want this level of cap-savvy, tape-first coverage without the drama tax, stay with me. Drop a like if this helped you see the board. Subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss the next late-night breakdown. And share this with that one Lakers friend who texts you every time a rumor drops. We'll keep you 2 steps ahead of the noise and inside the room where decisions make sense for a banner, not a headline.